the Confederates. I'm forgetting a lot of the details, but basically they were running around claiming that it was for the government from the military, and they were taking over a lot of my sites or a lot of the factories. Like I said, I did have some operations, cotton and some wheat farms and some other stuff in the United States, and they were taking them over. And like I said, I also had later on I had the K-19 and K-29, and basically 1700 to 1800, and they were fine from like 1500. The Republicans or Republic was fine from 1500 until it's about a heyday around 16 or 1700 or so. Well, no, I guess 1600 to 1700 pretty much was. I mean, it was coming along with me basically. And like I said, they were doing fine. They're buying up land like crazy in what is the United States. They're buying up land like crazy and spending a lot of money getting the mines going and doing all that stuff. They did a lot of the work, because I didn't really do anything in America or in the United States or the Confederate until probably about 1890, 1880. I mean, other than K-19 and a few other places. But basically, they were buying their torpedoes from me. And I was selling them for about 300 to 600 or $1,200 a torpedo, and later on it was $3,500 a torpedo because they were going they're extorting money out of the Japanese and Chinese merchants, which also worked for me as well. So basically, to make it worth my while, I was, or my people to make it, because they found out. So they're like, well, we're just going to charge them more for the torpedoes. So they were charging them. And they ordered like 500 or 400, and then they ordered 500 more. And like I said, the alcohol engines in the back are the most expensive part. And they tried to kidnap the guy who invented the alcohol engine and try and get him to make the things, but I could make them easier and cheaper anyway. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff that happened. So anyway, those are white. Those are Lucifer White Star torpedoes, the Whitehead torpedoes. And those were mine. And there was only 2 or 3 places in all the world you could get torpedoes, and I believe that was Britain, Russia, and China, and I owned all those sites basically. Germany was the first, of course. So anyway, I was charging them like $3,000 a torpedo, and this was back in 1800. I was charging him $3,000 per torpedo. So I was making good money on those. So my British people were like set. So I bought, and I was using that money to buy, and they didn't even really have that money. That's the thing. I used that money to buy Germany and some of the other places around there. So inadvertently they helped me. And then they were off pirating and doing stuff, and and like it says about how they were working for the Confederacy in knee-high water, and that was with Old Lumpy, which they probably had from 1812 to. They did have Old Lumpy. It was a gas engine though, and it sucked fuel or alcohol like there's no tomorrow. They got like 300-mile range out of it or something. But yeah, I think it was a 300-mile range. Not very far, like here out to the islands and back. It was not very far. I think one time they even put up a sale on it or something like that for sailboat submarine because they ran out of fuel, and so they didn't know what to do. So I think they put up, they did something or other. They had some sort of way of sailing the submarine. It was bad. It was really bad to extend the range of the submarine. The Confederate submarine is bad. Anyway, though, but they were holding up the wooden ships, like all the shipments that were coming in to like Texas. I forget there's only a couple ports, and I forget what the ports were, but as they came around, actually I think they went up that way. But anyway, sometimes, or maybe it was the Cuban shipments or whatever. But basically somewhere around the Bermuda Triangle or somewhere, they were basically pirating the ships and then bringing it to was the Republican Confederacy. So Roosevelt and all his buddies, all his cronies, were eating really well and basically living like they're rich, but they weren't. And I think they were selling candles and some other stuff. I don't really remember what they were doing. Trying to get the whale oil. I had all the whale oil. I had all the resources really because I invested in stuff and I was there from the beginning. So anyway. So long story. What can I say? Anyway, they just wanted they just wanted something that could dive, and I was like, well, I got a couple ideas for something that could dive. So they had I think they actually asked me for how to build it, and they tried to say it was mine, but it wasn't really mine. I mean, that was just, and I think I charged them like $36,000, or my company charged them $36,000 for my consulting fee. Like 5 seconds with me was charges cost them like $150,000, or $36,000 back in 1,000 gold, or 1,000 whatever, back in 1800. So and I gave them a couple ideas for a gasoline engine that maybe they could build, but they had to figure it out and they had to design it, and basically it was an air cooled engine pretty much. So, and it sucked. But anyway, it could only dive and stuff, and not very well. So anyway, and then there's all mine, which are other ones. But anyway, though, but even the mines in the United States that the Confederacy did, they weren't really mines, and they still had to ask for my mining equipment. So they still borrowed mining equipment from me and then owed me money. Like I say, the Confederacy, they went to the stock exchange, they went and bought steam engines for their supposed country. And then, like I say, they owed me money. They couldn't pay me the money for the steam engines. They couldn't even pay me the metal for the steam engines so I could build the steam engines, because that worked on a metal system back then. So, and they were like, we'll get you more metal. We'll get you more metal. But then they never gave me metal. So then we just sent them small steam engines based on how much metal they had sent us, which were like these little engines, like they're about like yay high, which couldn't mine. So they ended up having to have to do it by hand. And, a lot of the Confederates were like, we don't want to do this. This sucks. Because they're digging by hand with pickaxes, or whatever they could find, which wasn't very much. Even the pickaxes you need metal to have. So to be in America between 1700 and 1800, well, for other people it might have been okay. Anyway, yeah, and the truth hurts sometimes, I guess. So anyway, they ended up buying my old submarines from Germany, or from Europe or something, and they bought them as a private party, and they actually got them delivered in 1930 or so. So, but they weren't new at all. They were used in junky submarines. And yeah, so anyway, I don't know, crazy times. And I think they actually did have them for like a month, and then they said these are junk, and they wanted their money back, or they wanted it fixed. And I think I might have, I don't know, I think I was going to give them a discount. Like I say, I think I was going to give them a discount on the repair and just give them to them in good repair, if they bought them for full price or something. But I think my company people did it all, so I think they just charged them like the full price, like $250,000 for the subs or something, or some outrageous price that they didn't really have money for, of course. So the Republicans and the Democrats are deep, deep, deep in debt to me and everyone else. And like I said, and then they tried to buy food, but they couldn't buy food, so they ended up trying to kill people for food, and it just was a never-ending descent into basically bankruptcy, which they tried to say was my bankruptcy, but I'm not bankrupt, or I wasn't bankrupt. I wasn't in debt, because I was charging them for the torpedoes. I was charging them for the sub, me as Britain and Germany and all them. And I think when the United States took over Germany, they said, well, now you owe us the money, and you're the Confederates. And it's like, no, I was never the Confederates. My name is Lucifer Star, not Confederate Star. And anyway, they just tried to do this whole like twisted thing, and it didn't really work.